In a previous video, which you may have watched, if not, go do that. I can wait. I used a bear in the Root role-playing game to give examples why the combat system isn't a combat system or a mini-game. But since then, I've come around to a different idea about bears and deer in Root. What if they're not just bigger animals that can't talk, but your players can kill? What if they're genuinely terrifying? If I have time, I'll get on to deer as well, as I do have some thoughts I'm excited to share about those too. But I'm going to start with bears because they're the closest thing Root has to dragons. In most fantasy role-playing games, and various versions of D&D over the years especially, the progression of the characters is the driving force. We were playing to power up, and a big part of that is to kill escalating difficulties of monsters, count their gold, watch the XP number go up, and the levels go ding. Root, though, as PBTA, powered by the apocalypse, is instead play to find out what happens. So this is where I want you to let go of the idea of dragons. Dragons are aspirational kills. They're a menace to society, and killing them reaps huge rewards and demonstrates how far your character has advanced. If we want to fully embrace the actual treasure in Root, we need to let go of the idea of the big monster menace that it's the player's unspoken duty to vanquish. I talk about the lack of treasure in Root in another video. They're in a playlist on my channel page. I'll link to that for you at the end. I think there's a lot of role-playing fun to be had in taking the idea of bears and just pushing them out of the realm of rewarding to kill and into the zone like games like Call of Cthulhu reserve for their big bads. No one sensibly expects the end of the campaign to be that their antique dealer from Boston is now powerful enough to kill Hasta. In D&D though, and this does create the mindset, everything with stats is theoretically killable by the players once they hit the right level. And this includes gods. We just need to gear up enough. But in PBTA games, only the player characters really have detailed stats, which makes it much easier to take bears out of the running. Why would that be better? I think because it creates a threat that needs to be managed rather than obliterated. Not a grey area like the factions, a threat that will never go away and a plot well that cannot run dry. No need for steadily bigger and bigger threats. Instead, let's make bears bigger. Physically, sure, but also mythologically. In fact, I'm going to do these. First, stat-wise, the book puts bears above all else, with a simple description of a bear, run. But I'd be inclined to avoid head-on combat, and if necessary, warn my players that I'm not going to be using the rulebook numbers. There's a very good article about danger in Dungeon World from back in the day, explaining how a dragon's hit points aren't the most relevant thing to the fiction. It's not going to stand about waiting for a turn in combat. I'll put a link downstairs. But likewise, bears. Next, it's not a bear, it's the bear. In fact, let's borrow from European mythology. We don't even use the B word. We say the brown one, the one that eats honey, because if you say bear, and the bear is even just near your clearing, it will hear you. Superstition, right? But in game terms, if you can see the bear, even with a telescope, and you use the word even in a whisper, you see it turn to look at you. Stealth automatically fails if anyone says bear. Of course, not everyone believes this, but they've all heard the superstition. Remember, this game is narrative first, so what the players know about the bear, much like what they know about the river or the marquisate, comes from the tales they were told as kids and the chatter of the denizens. And while the denizens might be scornful of the Eerie dynasty's level of bureaucratic competence, they're scared witless of the bear. Kill it? Kill the brown one? Oh, please don't, kind vagabonds. My grandma always told a tale of being the last one out of Green Hollow. The soldiers there had trapped and fought fought the brown one and killed it. Cut off its head, so they did. She saw them hoist it on a pole in the market. Everyone was cheering. She weren't fleeing on purpose, mind. She had business in Limberley. But the next week, when she tried to go back, the road weren't there. They do say, if the wind is in the right direction on the river, you can still hear the echoes of the screams to this day. No one's found the clearing in 20 years. So, there you have it. Make the bear an almost eldritch horror that can derail the woodland war, and that the mere mention of it can change the mood with the NPCs in fun and exciting ways. Have the characters help build barricades, have the bear strike the clearings they're not in. Make it be something that they have plans for how to flee better, like a tornado. It is a force of nature in a very literal sense. Next, deer. I do have some ideas about deer as well. How to make them godlike creatures celebrated rather than feared across the woodland. Celebrated and feared. And with them, the rulebook is already on my side, as it doesn't give them any stats and dress them ready for combat. But it's time to call an end to this video. I'll put those in a future one. Lightly tap the subscribe button to get that delivered. And here is the playlist of my other Root videos. See you soon.